Jordan, his longtime idol, and the one player consistently in GOAT discussions with LeBron. Interesting position taken by LeBron, who up until now has deflected GOAT questions and has routinely said that he and Jordan both have had lasting impacts on the game. The conflict between the U.S. and Iran has made its way to the World Cup. 14 staff members who were supposed to travel with their Iranian soccer team to the U.S. for the World Cup were denied visas. Iran plays New Zealand Monday at SoFi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr. $2.5 billion. Governor Gavin Newsom said it was there for fire survivors in Altadena and the Palisades. No strings attached. That was the promise. But the burning question is, where's it at? 18 months later, an NBC4 investigation came back with the numbers. The numbers don't answer the question, they deepen it. Where's it at? About $605 million has been spent, roughly 75% still not released. Where's it at? Roughly $14 million went to CHP overtime and ICE immigration protest response for crowd control. Not rebuilding homes, not rebuilding lives, but crowd control. Where's it at? Another $13 million went to the state health department for video campaigns while fire survivors waited. While families in Altadena are still trying to put their lives back together, still trying to get housed, this is the hope gap and it's real. Where's it at? Southern California Edison is still in court, still fighting liability tied to the Eden fire, still not accountable. Where's it at? 18 months later, Governor Newsom, where's it at? Because the truth is free, but the lie can be very expensive. And right now, fire survivors want to know what happened to no strings attached. And I've been saying on this mic for the past 18 months, somebody or somebodies didn't do their job. Now it's documented. Governor Newsom, listen closely. You didn't do your job. You didn't keep your promise. You held up the bill. Now stop holding up the money. You said no strings attached. Instead, you played on the people's heartstrings. Where's it at? See, Governor Newsom, even at the French Laundry, if it don't come out in the wash, it's sure enough gonna come out in the rinse, and the rinse cycle is here. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm James Farr, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and momentarily we expect Dr. Escott Yuri to join us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show to talk about a number of current issues, including some that we may have already discussed. But most importantly, I welcome Dr. Yuri's insight in the legal realm and in the legal sphere of these processes. In this moment, I was sitting back thinking about the season politically that we find ourselves in. Having served 17 years in the Congress of the United States, I have something compelling to say about season, I know something about this. Every 2 years, you vote for a member of Congress. That means as soon as they win in November in the general election, they are sworn in January of the following year. And believe it or not, before they've filed a single piece of legislation, they're already running for reelection, because less than a year from that point or that moment, they have to file petitions for reelections, pass the reelection process through petitions to get on the ballot, and then raise, of course, from the first day they walk into Congress, the resources necessary to get reelected, including but not limited to, I would imagine, because this isn't something I had to deal with when I was in Congress, because you can't coordinate dark money or special interest money in your campaign, but you can still wink and nod at all of the organizations who are big money players in congressional elections. You kind of smile in their direction, you kind of show up at some of their events, you kind of participate and kind of vote and offer amendments that let them know that you are open to the ideas that they are promulgating for their specific industries. But in the final analysis, the way our democracy actually works is that's the money game, that's the power game, that's the political game in Washington, D.C. But ultimately, this is a people game. And when people in a congressional district outvote the member of Congress themselves and those interests, they have the power to hold the member of Congress accountable to the issues that matter to the people locally. Democracy is the only weapon that we have against these interests. If we lose faith in the democracy, if we lose faith in the people and their willingness to vote, to be educated, to be thoughtful, to have some sense and discernment about the candidates that are running, to quickly discern the money that's coming in from the outside to determine how that vote or how that member of Congress will behave if and when they are elected to the Congress of the United States, is a completely different arrangement than one that I was familiar with when I served for 17 years. The dynamic of running for Congress has fundamentally changed. Every poll that I took in the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois, and I had to run in order to see it. From January until the March 17th primary, we conducted 3 polls, 1 very, very expensive and 2 semi-expensive tracking polls to determine that every step along the way in a multi-candidate race and field, we were winning. We spent approximately $290,000 that we raised amongst chicken dinners and rib dinners and getting on the phone and calling people on social media and putting up posts and trying to get people to share the Act Blue website. And across the country, we raised about $294,000. But the outside money determined that if they ran a certain kind of campaign against Jesse Jackson Jr., they could win a congressional seat. And those outside forces raised $8 million against my little $290,000 to tell the story that they wanted to tell. And that's what's taking place in congressional districts across our country. It isn't just the money or the legitimacy of the voice of Jasmine Crockett or the voice of Jim Clyburn or the voice of Cleo Fields or the voice of Al Green. It is the outside money that shows up seeking to paint a picture and a perception of the representative that you have historically chosen to speak your talk, talk your talk, and speak your language with integrity on the floor of the Congress. That's the environment we find ourselves in at this hour. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., Soon we'll be talking about the politics of our faith with Dr. S. Yeri. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's celebrate.
Y'all did it!
Loving each other, needing each other.
Hey, Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580 is turning 5, and we're celebrating in a big way.
Oh my God!
Join us Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Beehive for our 5th anniversary bash and Juneteenth celebration. We're talking surprise celebrity guests, a special presentation, and a major announcement you will not want to miss.
I can't wait to hear it.
Plus, live music, dancing, games, and enough food and drink to keep the party going.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Of course, you're welcome to bring your own picnic basket, blanket, and lawn chair. And the best part, it's completely free. But here's the thing. You've got to sign up in advance. Space is limited, so don't wait. Head to KBLA1580.com right now and lock in your spot. Friday, June 19th, the Beehive, KBLA Talk 1580. 5 years strong, and we're just getting started.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Yeah, man.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks, followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up! Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. And we are still talking about, in this particular hour, about what we can expect from our representatives and their voices in the Congress of the United States. The 1972 Gary Convention, held in Gary, Indiana, that included Richard Gordon Hatcher, a dozen or so members of Congress. The Reverend Jesse Jackson was present. The mayor of Detroit was present. We had a Black political convention to discuss political power in our community just 7 years after the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we had the legislation, but we had to organize our cities and hold Democratic governors and other governors in a bipartisan way accountable to the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We had just completed the census, the decennial census of 1970. And therefore, in 1972, at the hour of the Gary Convention, the implementation of the first reapportionment plan from the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was upon us. It was a moment of necessary Black political reckoning because our numbers would swell from nearly a dozen members of Congress to the more than 62 members of Congress that are represented across this broad country on this date who happen to be African American, and roughly 30, maybe slightly more, of our brown brothers and sisters who are also the byproducts of the late preclearance provision, Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, and the late, I mean, because they are now deceased, Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the two key linchpins of the legislation that protect the integrity of our voices in the Congress. Now, the integrity of our voices are not just protected in the Congress of the United States, they are also protected in state legislatures around our country. Behind every one of these Section 2 congressional districts are 2 or 3, maybe even 4 in some cases, African American senators who serve in the state Senate, who, in addition to the congressmen, represent the congressional districts and our constituents in the upper houses of those institutions. Within those congressional districts, in some cases, there are more than a dozen, a half dozen to a dozen African American state representatives who represent African Americans in the lower chambers of those state houses. Within those congressional districts are political organizations and political machines that are capable of fielding candidates of judge for the office of judge at local and state levels where judges actually have to run and compete for office. It is those judges who determine the outcome of whether or not someone receives probation or whether or not someone is going to prison, whether or not there is an alternative form of justice to resolve civil and criminal problems, or whether or not someone will live the rest of their lives in felonization. All of that flows from the political process. Most of our judges cannot openly run for office as Democrats or Republicans. They run for office as nonpartisan individuals promising to follow the law and to bring justice. But when we elect African American judges and African American male and female jurists, when we elect Hispanic judges and Hispanic male and female jurists to the court, these judges bring to the bench a cultural sensitivity and a humanity that takes into account the lived experiences of the families and the context of a mistake made by a young individual that is redeemable, that the experience, in and of itself is more than enough for them to conclude this young person does not deserve a felony or an F on their back or in the middle of their forehead. Let me come up with an alternative sentence or an alternative form of justice so that the society is satisfied, but that the lesson itself is learned. It's not just that. This political process yields mayors in Atlanta, Georgia, and in the city of Chicago, and in New York City, and in Los Angeles, California, and wherever there's a Black mayor, in Detroit, in some of the large municipalities, and even in the small municipalities, these local mayors have a say in the distribution of tax resources that range all the way from the funding of schools to the repair of sidewalks. So if we still live in communities where there ain't no sidewalks been built yet, or the water in Flint, Michigan, or in Ford Heights, Illinois, still is putrid and is connected to well water and not lake water or fresh water, that should be deeply troubling for everyone in the 21st century. And yet there are hundreds of communities in the United States, both black and white and brown, where the water mains themselves are still insufficient to handle the needs of the people. And you have the power. That's what I heard our last guest say, Dr. Wilmer Leon, when he talked about the vote, that the power resides in us. And we determine how we distribute and use that power by listening to the candidates who offer their perspectives and their points of view. And you listen carefully to find out if they are sensitive to the needs that you observe with your own eyes, that you hear with your own ears, and that you can smell with your own nose. That's not complicated. Most of us know we can smell mess before we step in it. And that's why God put our nose in the center of our face, and it should be leading us. We've got a generation of people who like to take selfies, not by leading with their nose, but by leading with their behind. And we can smell that too when we don't participate in the process. Nothing could be a more reflective priority than the fact that God has placed our nose in front of us and our behind us so we can smell what's in front of us and not smell ourselves. I can't say it any clearer. I can't say it any better than that, except for the franchise and our participation controls that entire process. Now, if you think politics doesn't matter, try being a Knicks fan last night trying to get in Madison Square Garden. And the difficulty associated with getting in a sporting event that quite possibly altered the outcome of the game itself. I'm making no decision one way or the other about the Spurs or the Knicks in the national championship. I'd like to see the Bulls there personally. But the president of the United States shows up, and the sixth man on the court in every professional game is who? The fans. So if Donald Trump shows up, or any president shows up at a major sporting event, particularly a basketball event, how the fans react can determine the outcome of a game. That's in any baseball stadium in the United States. That's in any basketball stadium anywhere in the United States. That's at any soccer event anywhere, just about anywhere in the world. It does matter. And so Donald Trump, rightfully, from my perspective, altered the outcome of a championship basketball game last night by his presence. It is very difficult to beat the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, but it happened because the sixth man, his spirit was inextricably altered by the presence of the politicization of the game. That happened. We all saw it. We experienced it. And yet, our voting or non-voting in the last presidential election, whether we want to own the behavior or accept responsibility for it or not, for the more than 80 million of us who did not vote, who are upset today about the outcome of the game in New York in Madison Square Garden, blame yourself for not voting, because it was always possible that a malignant narcissist would show up at the Knicks game. And by him showing up at the Knicks game, it impacted the outcome of the game. And the outcome of the game was impacted because you directly did not participate in the last election. So you have no one to be upset with but yourself. Because if I were president of the United States, there's probably very little chance that I would show up in Madison Square Garden, knowing that probably my presidency might be polarizing for the American people, and it would take their eyes off of their moment of enjoyment. And the way I might resolve this is, well, at the end of the championship series, invite the winning team to the White House, provide them with a day of recognition, wait for them to give me a jersey that says J3 on it or something, because that's customary. I'm not putting my finger on the scale of the outcome of a national championship because I have some kind of personal need or obsession with myself, some kind of need to be on television, to be seen, to be heard, as if I'm going to be forgotten. I need to put my name on everything. I need to build a statue and monuments to myself. These are obsessive needs, and these are not the needs of a very healthy person or a very well-developed personality. I think that's clear to everyone. But what is not clear, and I think we have to fully understand, is that the sum of American history has produced our chief executive at any given hour in American history. The sum of American history from July 4th, 1774 to the election of George Washington, in those short, brief years after the writing of the Constitution of the United States, the sum of American history led to the election of an American war hero in the Revolutionary War, George Washington. That's how the American people felt. The sum of how the American people felt after George Washington, the early architects, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and James Madison, and I may not have them in their proper order, and John Quincy Adams, the sum of how early Americans felt about the United States were the architects of our republic. How every American truly felt about America in 1860 when they elected Abraham Lincoln. It was the sum of all of our sentiments. Half of us were with Lincoln and the other half were against Lincoln. But he was the sum, the right man at the right hour for the right circumstances, chosen by divine spirit energy, or however you want to say it, by the people to reflect how we were feeling as a nation. And he became the 16th president of the United States. That's a fact. Whatever you felt about World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, you Americans, we voted for Richard Nixon because he was the sum, with his truth and his untruth, of who we wanted to see, who we wanted to hear from. With all of that, we were tired. We wanted somebody different. And the sum of that was Jimmy Carter. And then after Jimmy Carter, wonderful man, but not necessarily a great person who knew how to govern, the sum of our experience led to 8 years of Ronald Reagan, for better or for worse, and so forth and so on, right up until Barack Obama and right up until Donald John Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We are the sum of all of human history, and you carry that sum with you in the franchise, in your vote. All I'm asking you to do is give it new consideration, exercise it on behalf of that which is right. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Brian Fair, head of the Southern Poverty Law Center, testified before the House Judiciary Committee over allegations the nonprofit funneled money to extremist groups it claimed to oppose.
The SPLC has fought racial terror, white supremacy.
Fair said the SPLC will continue working to fight discrimination. The Trump administration is investigating the City University of New York over claims of racial discrimination tied to its Black Male Initiative. The Justice Department says it received reports the program gives preference to students based on race. CUNY says the initiative is meant to boost enrollment, GPAs, and graduation rates for underrepresented students, and is open to students of all races and genders. And LeBron James says he considers himself the greatest basketball player of all time. In a Time interview, he said he would not take anyone over himself in the NBA's GOAT debate. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Escape the city at the all-new Hard Rock Casino Tejon, just an easy drive from downtown LA. Play your favorites across over 2,000 slot machines, plus baccarat, blackjack, roulette, and craps. Enjoy live entertainment and exceptional dining. Must be 21 or older. Concerned about your gambling? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The debate on who's the greatest player of all time in NBA history is picking up steam again, and LeBron is very clear on his number one choice. In an interview with Time Magazine, LeBron was asked the GOAT question. Here's what he said, and I quote, "I'm not taking nobody over me. There's no question." Translation, LeBron is ready to claim the GOAT title over Michael Jordan, his longtime idol, and the one player consistently in GOAT discussions with LeBron. Interesting position taken by LeBron, who up until now has deflected GOAT questions and has routinely said that he and Jordan both have had lasting impacts on the game. The conflict between the U.S. and Iran has made its way to the World Cup. 14 staff members who were supposed to travel with their Iranian soccer team to the U.S. for the World Cup were denied visas. Iran plays New Zealand Monday at SoFi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. It's high time that we say the quiet part out loud about what we consider a disgrace, an absolute disgrace to the people of South Los Angeles. Destination Crenshaw, or as I call it, Procrastination Crenshaw, was supposed to be a 1.3-mile celebration of Black Los Angeles. Pocket parks, commissioned art, a cultural corridor along Crenshaw Boulevard, stretching from our studios in Leimert Park down to Nipsey Hussle Square. It was set to complete in 2022. That's right, 2022. We are now in 2026, and the Crenshaw community is still waiting. A grand opening was announced for February 2024. That date passed with not a single artwork installed. Then we were promised that construction would be completed by the end of 2024. That date came and went. Our understanding is that as of last fall, the 8th Council District Office was still scrambling to raise additional monies just to restart the project, which has been paused again and again. But here's what makes my blood boil. City officials had the nerve to tell this community the delays are, quote, a necessary inconvenience, close quote. A necessary inconvenience? First of all, who are you talking to? Second, go tell that to the Black business owners who have been coping with construction chaos, breathing dust, enduring years of road closures, and the scarcity of available parking, confronting unsanitary conditions, losing customers and revenue, all while the project they were promised still sits unfinished. They wouldn't let a project sit this long in any other part of this city. And for what it's worth, our elected official just happens to be the president of the LA City Council. Meanwhile, the city is laser focused on sprucing things up for the World Cup and the Olympics. Please, if this corridor were in Brentwood or Beverly Hills, it would have been completed on time, on budget, and on the cover of every magazine in town. The Crenshaw community deserves better. They deserve the truth, and they deserve what was promised to them. now, right now. Not when it's convenient, not when the cameras are rolling for the Olympics. Now, this isn't incompetence. This is a pattern. And at some point, neglect becomes a decision. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In the Atlantic, Dr. David Frum writes, if anybody didn't believe in revolutions and counter-revolutions and the cycles of history, they're certainly getting a lesson in it now. Professor David Blight tells David Frum about the Supreme Court's decision to weaken the Voting Rights Act of 1965. In other words, revolutions and counter-revolutions are directly tied to the franchise. The most powerful tool that you have in a revolution or a counter-revolution in the United States of America is the vote. Within the vote is not only a prayer, as Raphael Warnock has rightfully suggested that it is, but within the vote is a revolution and a counter-revolution in and of itself. The power of the vote is something that we fully haven't explored because we've not really given it much thought collectively, what we can do with the vote together. We celebrate the personalities, the election of Harold Washington in 1983. We celebrate the accomplishments of Jesse Jackson in 84 and 88. We certainly celebrate the election of President Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012, culminating in his final campaign for his own successor in 2016, which ended up being Donald Trump. We miscalculated what the counter-revolution to our revolution actually was politically. The backlash. And for every front lash, there's a backlash. As Dr. Wilmer Leon likes to quote, for every reaction, Newton's third law, there is an equal and opposite reaction in the universe. And so the moment that you celebrate me, there's going to be an antithesis that emerges in that cycle. The philosopher Hegel once said that the truth can never be found in just the thesis. The truth also is part of the reconciliation of the antithesis with the thesis, and in the emergent synthesis between the thesis and the antithesis is a new synthesis. A new truth emerges, and that is the process of life. There can be no life on this earth without man and woman. There is thesis and there's antithesis. There is rain. There is a season for planting. There is a season for harvesting. There is a season for cultivating. There is a season for expectations. There is a season of rain and fertilization. These processes are not only scientific for the growing of something as basic as soy and corn. These processes are also the same processes for the negotiation, or sorry, if you will, the nurturization, the cultivation of movements of people. To move people, to move spirit energy requires education, And then there's this moment of pause that the education itself, Dr. King said, there is nothing more painful for some people than the birth of a new idea. They're so used to doing things their way that when they hear a new idea, it is painful. And so in this pain, when the mind welcomes or is introduced to a new idea, it's a painful moment. And when you overcome the pain, the thesis that was presented up against your head inevitably sparks another thought, but maybe we can improve upon the thesis, and that improvement is called the antithesis. And if you can merge the antithesis with the thesis that hit you upside your head in the first place, a new idea emerges. And guess what? That new idea, if it comes from you, makes you as unique as any individual in human history that has ever lived, because you were open to the idea of the transformation and the process of growth. Thesis, antithesis, action, reaction. And between action and reaction, there is a space. As soon as you hear the action, you can react immediately, or you can take advantage of the space and calculate the reaction. And in that reaction, you get to choose your freedom and your growth. And that freedom or growth is the birth of a new idea. For Dr. King, the idea of the vote was as revolutionary as it gets. No musket needed, no civil war needed, no force needed, just the consciousness and the spirit energy of the collective action of people to make a difference. Collective action. That when we are on the same page historically, there is a better chance that we will arrive at the same conclusion of what needs to be fixed than if we were not on the same page. And objectively, the same page is history. I'm 61 years old, and there's probably rarely a room that I walk in where over the vast majority of my life, someone felt that I was either entitled, I was special, I was some kind of different, that I was just Jesse's boy. And so I took a learning and a liking and an understanding to our history. And I was determined that when I walked into whatever room it was, no one knew the history better than I did. Not even my father, who relied upon my advice more often than not. Because the history was a part of me and I understood the history. And in that understanding exists the capacity to put groups of people on the same page. Can we agree at this hour that second Reconstruction is coming to an end and that we are entering into a Jim Crow, a new Jim Crow, a Jim Crow 2.0? Because the history says that the United States in its pre-construction phase was from 1619 to 1774, from the Declaration of Independence, July 4th, 1776, until the writing of the Constitution in 1787, the Bill of Rights in 1791, the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments, 1865, 1867, 1870. First Reconstruction, 1865 to 1896, Jim Crow, 1896 to 1954, Second Reconstruction, 1854 to the present. Between First and Second Reconstruction, there is a period known as Jim Crow. We are now entering into Jim Crow 2.0, and what is in front of us on the basis of that history is the possibility of a third Reconstruction. Can't wait for it to get here, but it is not here in the present. It is not here. But that is where we're going. If we can agree on the same page, we can then work our way through solutions to the problems that confront us, and we'll be better able to target those who are challenging us and threatening our progress. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here on KBLA.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-345-2789. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-345-2789. That's 800-345-2789 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-345-2789.
If you're an African American mom who is pregnant or have a baby under 6 months old, you deserve care that lifts, listens, and lasts. Black Infant Health is for you. It's a free program with individual support, group sessions, and resources to start your mothering journey. BIH makes space for moms and their families to create community. Learn more about the programs in Los Angeles County. Check us out at blackinfanthealth.org.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
As a fitness coach, my active psoriatic arthritis can slow me down. With Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, I'm treating my skin and joint symptoms so I can keep moving. Skyrizi, a prescription-only injection for adults, helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And for those who have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible. With Skyrizi, there's no daily dosing. It's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement. And that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Knock, knock, Capital One Bank guy.
Wow, Charles Barkley?
I just moved into the neighborhood. Can I borrow some Wi-Fi?
Sure, Chuck. That's what the Capital One Cafe is here for. Open 7 days a week.
Oh, can I use your ATM? My dog walker only takes cash.
Anything for a neighbor.
Can I try the catchphrase?
Sure. Take it for a spin.
There's no fees or minimums on Capital One checking accounts.
Nice, Chuck. I'll take it from here. Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Visit CapitalOne.com/bankguide for details. Capital One and name member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The midterm elections are upon us. It is voting season once again. Common Cause's motto is fighting for the democracy we deserve. In service of that goal, Common Cause puts its state and national policy expertise, massive network of grassroots supporters, and nonpartisan approach into action to strengthen our democracy against the challenges we face today. They work at every level of government on priorities that impact each of our lives, like defending the right to vote, limiting big money's influence on our elections, holding public officials accountable, and more. Common Cause is a nonpartisan grassroots organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. They seek to empower all people to make their voices heard in the political process. This election may be the most important one ever. If you'd like to make a donation or volunteer in service to the Constitution, please visit commoncause.org. That's commoncause.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You wouldn't have had a modern civil rights movement without the 14th Amendment. Let's remind people that in Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech, the second paragraph is all about the Declaration of Independence. And he also mentions Reconstruction. He mentions the 14th Amendment. Without that 14th Amendment having been laid down, without a history of jurisprudence over it, without its great symbol, I don't think you could have a modern civil rights. In fact, the 64 Civil Rights Act and the 65 Voting Rights Acts are direct responses to the Civil Rights Acts, the Reconstruction Acts, and the amendments of Reconstruction. They are the renewal of those.
Even though the Supreme Court of the United States is right now effectively repealing the Voting Rights Act,
exactly,
it too remains a resource for the future, a reminder of what was, what might be.
And if anybody didn't believe in revolutions and counter-revolutions and cycles of history, they're certainly getting a lesson in it now.
So it's not very complicated. Every constitutional amendment in the Constitution of the United States begins with a principle. And usually, if there are two sections to the constitutional amendment, the second part of the amendment says this: and the Congress of the United States shall have the power to implement this article by appropriate legislation. There shall be equal protection of the laws and due process. And then the next section of the 14th Amendment reads, and the Congress of the United States shall implement this article by appropriate legislation. Why? Because 50 different state legislatures operating independent of each other cannot build a more perfect union for all Americans. Some states will build an interstate highway system. Some states will insist on dirt roads. Some states will insist on public accommodations for all people. Some states will argue for separate and unequal accommodations. If we're going to build a more perfect union for all Americans, we need a single legislative body of representatives of the people and a common law amongst all 50 states, just so that we can build a highway from Maine all the way to California. If not, some states will say that go is a green light, yield is a yellow light, and red is a stoplight. And other states might say that green is a stoplight, red is a go light, and yellow means you make up your own mind. In order to build a more perfect union, a nation with as many governments as we have, let's just say 50 state governments. Let's just say 3,200 or more county governments. Let's just say more than 20,000 cities, municipalities, townships, each with their own village presidents or mayors. Let's just assume that everybody wants to do it their own way. If that's the case, a plane that takes off from New York, and lands at an airport in Georgia may not be able to land in Georgia because the locals decided they didn't want to have a very long runway. They only wanted a runway that accommodates a crop duster. Well, that's not good for the country. It's not good for commerce. It's not good for international travel or international trade. It's not good for building a more perfect union. And yet, in our nation, because we the people have not decided that we believe healthcare is a human right for all Americans, that's exactly what we have. We got Georgia healthcare, Texas healthcare, Illinois healthcare, DC healthcare, California healthcare, but we do not have the fundamental human right to healthcare of equal high quality. We have decided as a nation that we do not want to build a road to high quality healthcare for every American that is the same road that all of us are on, with exit ramps, with bridges, so that we can traverse great miles and great distances. Because what ails me, what makes me sick, doesn't make you sick. So what kind of healthcare do I need? I need the kind of healthcare that is available for me and ready for me when my illness shows up. And the doctor says, Jesse, this is what you got. I don't need plan A, plan B, plan C. I need the care for the illness that shows up that I can't determine, and neither can the doctor. Only God Almighty can determine that. But the nation must provide a floor beneath which no American can fall. It doesn't make sense for the more than, I think the last time I did the research, 90,000 public schools in the nation. Some public schools are training our kids for the Olympics. And other public schools, all public schools, don't have the resources to have a swimming pool. So there'll be no one from those high schools going to diving in the Olympics or backstroke or the breaststroke. There'll be no weightlifters from some high schools. In the meantime, 18 and 19-year-olds from other high schools will be entering the Olympics, competing for gold and silver and bronze medals, because we as a people have not yet decided that every child deserves a public education of equal high quality, with every teacher having a master's degree or a PhD or higher, which is its own civil rights legislation, with class sizes not to exceed 15 students per classroom, so that individualized instruction is something we are proud of here in America, because we, the American people, have some unfinished business with our Constitution. And when we finish the business, there'll be an amendment and a section of the amendment that will read, and the Congress shall have the power to implement this article by appropriate legislation. And as Dr. David Blight just said, it will lead to a civil rights movement to make sure that every American enjoys this opportunity. That's our message for July 4th. America never was America to me, Langston Hughes said, but this I swear, America will be. Right here at KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until tomorrow, I'll see you guys on Thought Provoking Thursdays. More on KBLA up next.
KBLA